guys doing?
David.
Hi, Josh. Happy September.
Happy Java with Josh.
Give me a nice smile so I can.
Not the creepy picture you're going to show people here in a few minutes.
Well, spoiler alert. For those of you, I just told Josh I didn't send out the 1 hour reminder email. So if we have a lower turnout live, well, I may lose my job because of this, folks. So nice seeing you. It's been great being on the show.
It's nice to know you, Dave.
Yep.
But at this point, we actually pushed it off a week from last week. There was just too much going on, and I didn't have everything prepared. And there's lots to talk about. So we kind of said, let's wait a week. And I'm sure there's people that are watching live now because they were so excited for it last week. And here we are. So
Is it possible people have been live since last week? They just sat on YouTube waiting?
Are they my children? Okay. Because then, it's a huge
that's right.
possibility.
Hashtag tax nerd. Cool.
So, well, before we get going here, we are back in the throes of school. We talked about that last time. We were on Java with Josh. And it's also, I feel like fall picks up and gets super busy. We get busy here in the office. And
Pumpkin drinks.
it's pumpkin drink season. Actually, the day the PSL went live at Starbucks, now my kids don't drink coffee. They like Starbucks and they get the pink drink and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Maggie and Alex were all like, I can't wait. I want a pumpkin spice latte. And so on my way to work, they had a late start day that day. So I stopped at Starbucks and surprised them and drove home. And I just got a small pumpkin spice latte, and I only got one shot in it.
Okay.
And it's normally two. Zach didn't care at all about it. Maggie thought it was the greatest thing she's ever tasted.
no.
And Alex, who was super excited, goes, I don't like it.
Oh, wow.
So Maggie downed her first pumpkin spice latte.
Well, 1 out of 3 addicts is not bad. I mean, it could
Maggie
be worse.
is my child with an addictive personality. So
Yeah, I could totally see her with her girlfriends walking downtown Elmhurst
yeah.
and like spending $20 on Starbucks.
she loves it. So, but we did have some fun things to go through here.
Yeah.
We did some end of summer. You know, Missy does that summer bucket list thing, and it's a lot of fun. But we spent a day in the city, and actually, I'm going to preface this story first. Alex, you know, my son Alex is lactose intolerant. He drinks special lactose milk. When he eats ice cream, bad things happen to his body. If he doesn't, take his lactate pills, we go out for dinner, and if one of us doesn't bring lactate pills and we order dessert and it's ice cream, like tears happen. So 2 funny things occurred. First off, Alex has been begging for us to do something in the city, and he wanted us to go to the Museum of Ice Cream in Chicago, and that is us over there. It's just off of Michigan Avenue, right by the NBC Tower. We did that in one of the colder weekends in the end of August, which remember August is cold, September is hot.
Okay.
Weird. But it is a weird place to go to because it's like all you can eat ice cream, but it's weird ice cream. Like we had hot dog flavored ice cream. It's exactly as you would think it would be.
It sounds repulsive.
They called it like Chicago style hot dog, and you could actually get it was in a bun, kind of like a cakey bun, so the cake and ice cream. The ice cream tasted like a hot dog, and then you could put like celery salt and pickles and sport peppers and mustard on it if you wanted to. They had relish. Now, I took one bite.
And you love food.
I love food. I love hot dogs.
Yeah.
I love ice cream.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with savory ice cream. No. I mean, it was not the worst thing I've ever tasted, but pretty darn close.
Wow.
Not quite as bad as the ketchup-flavored potato chips my daughter made me try. But
You're very anti that. Can you go back to that photo really quick?
Yeah.
Did you notice? Look at how Maggie and Missy are sitting.
So polite.
No, well, they're identical.
They are.
Maggie has Missy's exact posture and like everything. That's adorable.
Yeah, and I'm taking up half the bench.
Big ogre.
Well, this next page over here is Alex missed something happened, and we didn't communicate well. So our makeup to him was that he could get a medium ice cream cone at Dairy Queen. Normally we make them get smalls. We can get a medium ice cream cone. This is Alex eating his medium ice cream cone in downtown Elmhurst, and was.
You see, he's got a nicely defensive stance there. He's got wide legs, bent knees. He's ready to
I'm hoping he plays basketball this year. We'll see.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, he's got the pose for it. I never played defense, so I can't teach him.
You still don't, actually.
No, I really don't. No,
So
it's true.
And Dave, it's fall,
Yeah.
you creep us out a little bit here.
Yeah, this here, you're looking at Big Earl McAllister, Josh. That is my that's my buddy. That's my skeleton. He rides shotgun with me everywhere I go. Right there, he's actually passenger side. That's because I made a short film with Michael Madison in the marketing department a few weeks ago to celebrate the kickoff of pumpkin spice season. But Big Earl, he comes out when pumpkin spice gets released, so August 23rd. And I will just say this. Our world's kind of blowing up. People are looking for reasons to smile and laugh. And I'm telling you, this skeleton is making people on the road laugh and strike up conversations with me. You know, I'm not really a big extrovert outside of like here. I would say 4 or 5 times out of 10, if I'm at a stoplight, somebody will look over and start laughing. People roll down the window and start having conversations like, "Oh my God, your dad's dead," or something funny like that. So it's been really
tell him,
kinda
no, he's
cool.
coming in town in a few weeks.
Yeah, right. But that's my dad. That's my wife. Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun, and I actually made Carla ride in the back seat a few days ago because I didn't want to move Big Earl because he's kind of permanent
I got in your car
there.
last week, and you moved him for me.
I moved him for you. Oh shoot. Sorry, Carla. She doesn't watch anyway.
Yeah, it's fine. Actually, I was going to tell you, last night I was going to pick up Maggie from gymnastics, and I'm driving down St. Charles Road, and Elmhurst has this new thing where people drive golf carts around, which is...
Love it.
I love it and hate it.
Yeah.
But a guy had one of his own Big Earl Joneses strapped in the back.
Big Earl Jones.
Strapped in the back of the golf cart, which I thought was funny.
Big Earl McAllister.
Before we go too far, so far nothing we've said really compliance is going to care about, but going forward they might. Everything we do on Java with Josh is for informational purposes only. I'm happy to give you any personal advice you do desire, but that has to be in a one-on-one setting. So I hope you find some fun information here.
Yeah. Java with Josh. Let's talk about that really quick. Java with Josh. We're going on over 2 years straight of having Java with Josh, and it is a live monthly YouTube show featuring Josh Bretl and his trusty sidekick Dave, me. And what happened to Java with
and your skeleton.
And my skeleton and my many random stories. A few days before we go live, Josh and our other advisors will sit down and they will brainstorm a timely and relevant topic to talk about for retirees and those soon to retire. And we go live on YouTube. We'll get about, we'll get a lot of live viewers, but a lot of people are finding us now organically on YouTube, which means people are searching for like topics that we're talking about, and our videos are popping up, so that's a lot of fun. Speaking of which, if you could hit that like button, I know every YouTuber says it. I'm not a YouTuber.
We've made it like 10 minutes, and you haven't asked anyone to hit the like button yet,
I know.
So that's pretty good.
When you hit the like button, YouTube will then feed our videos to other people searching for financial topics, so that'd be awesome if you did that.
Cool.
Yeah.
More fun things coming up here. I'm going to put this slide up, but we've joked last time. Does it really matter? Because we tend to keep changing things.
Yeah.
Our next scheduled shows are Wednesday, October 8th, Wednesday, November 12th, and Wednesday, December 10th, and that'll take us through the end of the year. That's kind of fun. And again, I would pay attention to the emails that Dave sends out because that's when we really set it in stone there. So
yeah.
Also coming up, are those live there? Yep. Coming up here next week. Is that next week?
Oh, wow.
No, it's a few weeks away.
Weeks, yeah.
A few weeks away. We are presenting at a new location on Social Security. It's going to be at the ARC Center in Woodridge. This is a new location for us. We've never presented down there. Normally, that area of Downers Grove and surrounding areas does get a large turnout for us. So if you'd like to attend, we'd love to have you join us. This is a great way for people who want to know more about our thought processes and hear more in depth how we work with different clients. This is a great way to see that live.
Pop quiz. What does ARC stand for?
Athletic Recreation Center.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you are extremely athletic, so
you can tell.
Knew that.
Yeah, you can tell without
Peak
a doubt.
physical condition.
Dave's been. Never mind. That's a long story. No one needs to hear about. But
hard pass.
Hard pass. Other fun things going on here is sorry, I'm staring down at this computer screen, which we are doing construction in the office. This is the random picture Dave just had to fill space with, which I think is funny. But next time you come into our office, if we have clients watching, you will see when you walk in the door, it looks totally different. And we'll have a bunch of new conference rooms. So this is kind of a fun change that we're going through right here in the office. In fact, we kind of threw this together last minute because my office has become a makeshift conference room, and so we had to tear down and set up and do all that fun stuff very recently. So
yeah, and everything just worked, man. So knock on wood, all our tech worked today.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm excited to show them the new studio when we get that going. That's gonna be fun.
I'm excited for it as well,
man.
Dave.
It's gonna be awesome.
So
cool.
Last thing before we get into the two things here before we get into the fun topic. The Own Your Retirement radio show. This is the radio show that I do every Saturday morning with my co-host, Mark Elliott. It is a fun show to do. It's more, the topics aren't as timely as what we go through here. They're much more evergreen there, but we do get a nice listening audience. So if you want to hear a different take on some financial topics, I highly encourage you to tune into WLS AM 890 on your dials from 7 to 8 a.m. on Saturday mornings.
You sound like a legitimate DJ.
It came out of my mouth way too naturally.
Yeah, it really did.
So, the last one, and every time I put this up, I ask Dave to go through it, and he says, "No, why don't you go through it?" So I'm not even going to ask you this time. This is something I'm really proud of. The mission of FSR Wealth is to help make retirement the best part of your life. There's so much that we do from a financial standpoint, but what's the purpose behind that? Why do we do those things for you? Is so that retirement can be the best part of your life. And there's all sorts of things that means to different people.
And for you OG podcast listeners, it means you can get those Arby beef and cheddars and not worry about paying an extra $1 for cheese. Man, remember that?
Oh, God.
Episode 5 of the podcast, I think, is when it came out. Good times, man. Good times. I can't wait for a podcast version 2.0. It's happening.
It is happening. The new studio's coming. It's going to be fun.
Yep.
So
cool.
All right. Well, today's topic is going to be a fun one. Today, I've decided that we're going to dig into the really, really fun world of the Federal Reserve Board.
Ooh, doozy.
This is actually something that's always fascinated me. And I remember talking about the Federal Reserve and what it does all the way back in high school. Dave, you probably don't remember that in high school, but
no.
I remember being fascinated by it. And it does play a major role in all of our lives and in the lives of the economy. And so I kind of want to, there's been a lot of Federal Reserve talk in the news. So I wanted to go through it a little bit because I realized that I think about it in a certain way, and I don't know if everyone else thinks about it in that way. So I kind of thought today we'd spend some time talking about the Federal Reserve. Yeah. Now, let's get going here. Before we get into this too much, I want to make sure everyone realizes the Own Your Retirement planning process. This is our holistic view of how we see everyone in retirement. So first off, you have to have money coming to the door. That's your income. Where's the money going to come from? Then we have investments. How is the investments, your money that you have sitting somewhere, how is it going to earn money? Then we have taxes. How are we going to minimize the taxes you have on the money that's sitting out there and everything else you have coming in? Then you have healthcare, long-term care, and of course, estate planning. Now, the Federal Reserve, their actions, they affect those top two explicitly by quite a bit, actually. And so you want to make sure that you understand what the impact it has on you. Now, we'll talk about this at the end, but the key that we try and really instill into everybody is that we want you to be okay no matter what the Federal Reserve does, no matter who the Board of Governors is. We want you to be okay and be able to retire in the retirement that you want. But the truth of the matter is that they will have an impact on your retirement as well as everybody else's. So now, Dave, you can see my screen here that I'm about to show. Mm-hmm. I'm a big musical fan. Have you seen Hamilton? You
know what? Sadly, I have not. It's queued up, and was it Netflix has it, I think? But
yeah, I do. Netflix does have it. So Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton, this play was written about really the father of our banking system. He's one of the founding fathers of the United States, and he was the kind of the brains behind the central banking system. He saw a national bank as kind of the backbone of a modern economy. He thought it could help us manage debt, and big one here was issuing reliable currency, and he thought it could promote confidence in just the banking system, and you want to have financial confidence in our financial system. And they wanted the Federal Reserve to do that. Now, the Federal Reserve itself, it didn't come into fruition until 1913. In a lot of ways, it is it's designed in the eyes of a lot of what Hamilton had in play. Now, it is not our first Federal Reserve bank. It's not our first national bank. We've had a few before that. In fact, we had a period of time where we had no national banks. And what happened there was each bank set its own rules, and we saw a lot of collapses in different banks, and a lot of it had to be state chartered. And so we did go back and we started looking at the Fed in 1913. So the Fed started in 1913. And it was created as part of banking panics that occurred in 1907 when we had no federal bank and there was nothing to stabilize the financial system. So our government came in and they created this Federal Reserve banking system, and it had three purposes behind it. And those three purposes are key, and we should always remember those three purposes. Oh, my head went right over the three purposes. That doesn't help. First is provide stability. So we want to make sure that we have a stable banking system, and that as people put money into our system, that they can rely on it. The second is to regulate banks. I am honored to sit on the board of the Community Bank of Elmhurst here in town, and we talk about the Federal Reserve and the requirements. They come in regularly and evaluate our bank, and we're a very small bank. They probably have offices sitting in those larger banks that they're there constantly being the evaluator of the strength of those banks. And they also, and this is a big one, they are designed to be the lender of last resort.
What does that mean?
We're going to talk about that here, Dave. Great question, Dave. What does that mean? Let's talk about a little bit of a history of it. The Federal Reserve has had since 1913, it's had some key moments. Aren't these fun pictures, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
Up here, I don't know, Dave, can you recognize what that is? It's the Great Depression. I Googled Great Depression and pictures, and this one was up there multiple times. There, people standing in food lines, and
how nicely dressed they are, though. You know what I mean?
They do look good, don't they?
Yeah, they really do.
But they had a lot going on in the Great Depression time because they were working through tightening credit, and they actually took a lot of grief for extending the Great Depression because people didn't think that the Federal Reserve acted in what was appropriate to get out of it. So down here, our parents are going to remember this, Dave. This is before our time, before even you were born, which is less than a year before I was.
Wow.
This is the 1970s. This is the gas crisis of the 1970s. I remember my parents talking about the fact that you would wait in line for hours just to get gasoline. A lot of it had to do with high inflation and different things. And I was reading about that time because it's not a time that I remember. I wasn't born. But with the oil embargo, we had loose monetary policy, and then I forgot in 1971 our gold standard went away. So Nixon got rid of the gold standard. And it really took Paul Volcker. Paul Volcker is kind of remembered as one of our key Fed chairs. He came in 1979, and what he did is he took inflation serious. Inflation hit its peak in 1980 at 14%. Now, imagine what we felt last year, 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, at 5%. Imagine 14%.
It's a lot bigger.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger. So when he came into office, one of the things that he did was he raised interest rates drastically, and that had a huge negative impact on a lot of things, but it really controlled inflation that's there. Finally up here, we have the COVID pandemic and the Lehman Brothers. We all remember these here. In 2008, when Lehman Brothers went out, they became that lender of last resort. They became that, how are we going to, support the financial system, and those bailouts, a lot of those were done through the Federal Reserve. And finally, COVID, as that came in, they did a lot in the banking system to try and make sure that everything was stable, and that when we had unemployment all of a sudden that shot through the roof, that we as a country still had stable financial systems. So that's a lot of what their history is as it's gone into play here, and there's a lot that goes through it. But the Federal Reserve gets a lot of grief one way or the other. My next slide I want to go through is kind of what their key purpose is of their Open Markets Committee, because there's three ways that they can impact us as investors, as retirees. And the first one that we look at, I got to change my pictures and these things, Dave, or change the words at least. The first one we look at is interest rates. this is what we hear about all the time. The Federal Reserve can set interest rates. And when they're setting interest rates, what they're really setting is the Fed funds rate. So we'll talk about that. But the Fed funds rate is not the rate that you and I can borrow at. It's not the rate if I want to loan you money or if you want to go to the bank and get a loan. This is the rate at which banks can borrow money. Or if the bank can borrow money even from the Fed. So these are like your highest credit. And it's for the shortest term because they're overnight rates. And so this is supposedly the shortest term, safest rate we can have, and that's the one that they set. But those do have impacts on different things. Then the next one they have, this is what they call open market operations. So they can buy and sell our U.S. debt, which is kind of crazy. So when we issue bonds as a country, a lot of times the Federal Reserve is the ones who purchase that. And so they can buy and sell debt on behalf of our, independently of anything else that happens out there. And the last one up there is reserve requirements. So this is kind of a fun one.
Is it though?
To me, it is. I've always loved the topic of reserve requirements, believe it or not.
Okay.
And I've gone into depth in regards to what change in reserve requirements does.
Wow.
I know. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
But reserve requirements is set at a banking level. And when you put money into a bank, so let's say you have $100,000, you deposit it into a bank, the bank is not required to hold on to all $100,000. They can actually loan it out multiple times. And so they're only required to hold on to maybe 10% or 20%, depending upon what the bank is. And that allows them to create multiple loans off of that $100,000. And in essence, what it does is it creates money in thin air. It takes, if you deposit 100, but they can loan out 400,000 because you deposited 100, you just created $300,000 in thin air, which is good for the economy. But there's also risk there, because if you come and you say, hey, I want my $100,000 back, but two of those people default on their loans, what are you going to do? You can't so as they change the reserve requirement, that has an impact in regards to how much money is out there in our financial system. So,
cool.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. But see, it is fun.
No, that was interesting. Well, I remember I worked at the bank, so FDIC and all these different things I'm aware of. But this, never heard of this.
Yeah, this is really geeky behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
So, but all of these things, they impact.
You coffee drinking?
That was an inappropriate time to drink coffee. I was really thirsty.
It's never an inappropriate time.
They impact our financial system and everything that they do here. The most common one that we see done is interest rates, because it has a direct impact on us. So let's talk about that direct impact. I'm going to change this here so we can zoom out. This is our yield curve. I've showed this over and over and over again here on Java with Josh. But if we look here, the Fed funds rate, so this rate here at 4.15%, that's what it was August 31st for a 3-year note. The Fed funds rate actually sits even farther over here, and this is set by the Federal Reserve. They get to set the overnight lending rate. The market sets everything else over here. So everything else over here is set by the market. People get to decide what they're going to accept as an interest rate. Now, but the Fed funds rate does impact things. Because if the Federal Reserve lowers interest rates, it does have an impact on the rest of these, which impacts the borrowing, and it impacts the financial statements of businesses. So when we talk about lowering rates, what happens is if we lower interest rates, what happens? Well, it makes money cheaper, so more companies will go out and invest. It makes it cheaper to get mortgages. It really makes it cheaper to borrow money. So anything you would do in borrowing money, it makes it cheaper. But if you have money invested, like CDs and long-term investments, quite often it can make it so you're not earning as much. So there's pros and cons to it as we look at what the Federal Reserve does with all of their interest rates, as well as their different open market operations. So that was a lot.
Yeah. Do you need more coffee after that?
I might.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to show a screen here. It's going to have 7 faces on it. And I'm going to guess most people have no idea who these people are. These are your Federal Reserve Board. Now, some people might know this fella here, Jerome Powell. He gets a lot of TV time. He is our chairman of the Federal Reserve Board. But then we've got our governors as well. up until recently, I'm going to guess no one had any idea who their governors were, except in the news recently. We've been talking about this lady here, Lisa Cook. Now, let's talk about independence really quick. One of the keys to the Federal Reserve Board is it was supposed to be independent of our government. So it's sanctioned by our government, but it's supposed to be independent of that. What does that mean? It means they don't have control over it. And you can see when they are independent, you can have something like what happened with Paul Volcker. So a lot of times people were super angry at Paul Volcker. He was creating havoc in our stock market. But looking back long term, a lot of people credit him with giving confidence back to our banking system. And if he was feeling that pressure from the market and from the government to do things, he wouldn't have acted in what he thought was the best interest of our country as a whole. So,
no pun intended. Best interest. Get it?
That's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Carry on.
So these people here, how do they get independence? Well, your chairman of the board, your chairman of the Federal Reserve, who has the most power, he is elected or he is appointed every 4 years, which you would think, oh my gosh, 4 years. But it's off years from the president. So the president, like as we've seen right now, doesn't get to come in and just appoint somebody brand new. He will get a chance to do it at some point in time in his term. But Jerome Powell he's our current Federal Reserve chair. He was appointed by Trump during his first term. And he was renewed and reappointed by Biden during his term. And so Powell has just a little bit of time left on his current term now. Now, the other governors, this is crazy, are appointed for 14-year terms. And the reason for that is they want that long-term approach. They want people who are on the Federal Reserve Board to be thinking long-term in regards to this. So they're not being responsive to political appointments. Now, Lisa Cook is the governor who you've seen in the news. She's the one who Trump has tried to fire until recently. Actually, an appeals court just with they made it so he can't fire her right now. I'm sure it's going to the Supreme Court. We'll see what happens. If you're watching this video a couple weeks from now, she may be gone. She may be permanent. Who knows? But in theory, the president does not have the ability to fire these board members to try and keep independence. But there's causes that they can do it. So the reason he wants to is because of the fact that right now, there's a minor war going on between these two guys. Trump has made some comments about how he thinks that he's doing an awful job, that Powell should resign right away, that he's incompetent. Now, I don't necessarily believe this, but they disagree. Why does he say these things? He says these things because he disagrees or he wants lower interest rates. He wants Powell to lower the interest rates so that we can get the companies can get cheaper borrowing costs, which will increase the economy. And presidents like it when the economy looks really good. They like it when the market goes up because then voters are happier. So a lot of what we have to do here, a lot of what we're looking at is when he says all of these things about Chairman Powell, he's really doing it for very, personal reasons. He thinks that he's hampering the market. Now, why is Powell not lowering interest rates? Well, as you lower interest rates, it can have an impact on inflation. They worry about inflation coming out there. In fact, the reason these rates went so high so fast over a couple of years ago was because of inflation that's out there. So there's all sorts of variables that they look at, and in their meetings, they meet about every 6 weeks. They decide what they're going to do with those short-term Fed funds interest rates. There is a meeting today. You probably are watching this after the meeting occurred, so I apologize it's not timely, but they're deciding if they're going to lower rates. Now, the market itself has pretty much assumed that they're going to lower rates by a quarter a point, 0.25%. The market has assumed that. So if they don't do that, you should probably saw the stock market will react negatively to that. There's an off chance they actually lower it more by 0.5%. I don't think that's going to happen. That was what Trump would really like to have happen. But if they do that, you'll see the market react super positively today. So a lot of things, when we see the bad news out there, we talked about unemployment maybe getting worse. We talk about, the jobs numbers, what's out there, even GDP slowing in growth. A lot of times when you hear those numbers, it gives a shot in the arm to the market because of the fact they think rates are going to go lower because of those numbers. So it's kind of crazy as you think about all those things. But the Fed does have a lot of power that's there. There's pluses and minuses to everything they do. But again, all of these different areas, your income and your investments, your taxes, your healthcare, your legacy, all of them go into making sure that your retirement is the best that it can possibly be. And we want to insist that as you're going through retirement, you shouldn't care what the Federal Reserve does. I mean, you should care. It will have an impact. But it shouldn't tell you can't go on that cruise. It shouldn't tell you can't give money to your kids. It shouldn't tell you that you can't do the things you want to do. Or even you can't retire if you want to retire. You can't buy, the Arby's beef and cheddar croissants.
Yeah. That's croissants. Oh, you've just invented a new sandwich, my friend.
Doesn't Portillo's have a beef
and cheddar croissant? Yes, but Arby's beef and cheddar croissant?
If they come out, we'll mark this. Yeah.
Hello, Arby's. This is Dave speaking. They're in.
They are in.
Yeah, they're watching live, so.
Yeah, it just says Arby's on there.
Yeah, that's it.
But I don't want you to be impacted. I don't want your retirement to be impacted negatively because of what the Federal Reserve does. I want you to be okay no matter what happens. And that's kind of my talk today.
It's a wonderful talk. Wow.
A lot of Federal Reserve talk.
How many words do you think you just spoke? I think we could probably get this transcribed. There's a lot of words.
We'll see.
Reserve requirements. That's my takeaway from
reserve requirements are fun. That was one of my favorite ones to go through. You can get really dorky on those in economics classes, but yeah.
Get nerdy with it. Hey, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. Man, I feel slimy saying that. I feel like, I don't know. It feels weird.
It feels like Trump trying to fire governors.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That was the first political statement I've gotten into. And I apologize. I really try and keep these as non-political as possible. But I am a big believer in the independence of the Federal Reserve Board. I'm totally okay if you disagree with the Federal Reserve Board. That doesn't bother me. But the independence is so important to the strength of our financial system, in my opinion. So I don't mean to get political. I try and keep these as non-political as possible.
I didn't take it as political.
Good.
So next month is October. Do you think the fans want Big Earl to make an appearance live on camera?
I think Big Earl should come around.
I mean, if we get enough thumbs up here, they'll tell me that we want Big Earl to be live on the show with us. So.
Yeah, let's see. Do you have a number you're setting here? I mean, it sounds like you're bringing Big Earl no matter what. So
I'm probably already thinking about how to prop him up here at the desk. So
you can just take your spot.
Probably. He'll probably sound more intelligent than I do. Cool, man. All right, so October 8th we're set for. While you're on YouTube, subscribe to our channel because we started a new weekly 2-minute market update video. We try to launch it Tuesday between like noon and 2 o'clock. Did I say that properly? Noon and 2? Between 12 and 2.
That works.
Yeah, it's a quick little, like, Josh just recaps a few bullet points from the previous week, what happened in the market. So, yeah, it's fun. A lot of people are actually liking that. They're emailing in saying, keep them coming, Dave. And I said, job security. Yes, I will keep them coming. So, yeah, it's called What Just Happened. That's the name of the series. So check that out. We didn't get one yesterday because we just didn't, but maybe today.
Be our first one we are late on.
Yeah, not entirely our fault though.
Yeah,
but cool. Did you hit that close? Because then the music can start going.
Oh,
yeah.
There's music.
Yeah,
going.
music's
Look
gonna start.
that.
Music's gonna start going a little bit. Yeah, and then we can kind of say our goodbyes. And should we bring back the Byeee?
I don't really like the Byeee.
You like?
No, I just like to say goodbye and thank you for watching.
Appreciate it.
Java with Josh. Cheers.
Cheers.
And I'm singing it loud. shining bright and it's going my way. Birds in the sky and I'm singing it loud. Love is all around and I'm floating away with you. And I'm floating away with you. Throw my hands up, it's a beautiful day. The sun is shining bright and it's going my way. Birds in the sky and I'm singing it loud. Love is all around and I'm floating away with you. Love is all around and I'm floating away.